They have this closed door mentality, right? Nobody in that thumbnail that you saw, I'm sorry, let me introduce myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because I know how this thing works. Sometimes it comes in 40 minutes, 50 minutes. It's just insane, right? So let's get into this. I'm Carcino for life, right? You all know me. Thank you. Let me take my bow. Now, let's get through it. This is the conditions, right? You have countless people, and I mean countless, that are out here making observations about what's correct, what isn't correct, what is proper, what isn't proper. And they're making all of these decisions that's based on your life. No one else gets to say anything about it. Did you not know what was actually happening in the scenarios of what was going on in Hollywood at said time? Those were the hot actors in 1992. And at that said time, they were looking for a black entertainer to be the face, the young face of Hollywood. Samuel Jackson was chosen to be the character actor. He was never chosen to be the face of starring in his own film. He was always meant to be a supporting character actor. They never chose Samuel Jackson to be a leading actor in Hollywood because he started very late in his career. Even though he was great in theater, they never saw that because at this time, a lot of studios were not putting money up for black actors. Now, Denzel Washington was being selected because of what he did in Glory, playing that role of the slave role, which got him a supporting Oscar nomination with Matthew Broderick, playing a war film and him playing a slave. And going through that procedure, and people got to see him, even though in Cry Freedom, which was played a more important role, Glory is something that America liked to see black people play slaves. So they love that. And you got to see him expand more. So they signed him to a very big deal at the time for a black actor to come in and say, okay, after the Glory, here's what we're going to do for you, Denzel. We're going to give you your own movie. We're going to give you they gave him a 3-movie deal or 4 or 5 picture deal or whatever. And it was worth millions of dollars at the time, like 5, 6, 7 million. You know, this is not even with everything else. He's getting that as like the signing. He's getting 7 million from the signing. And these are like low budget movies, but it's starting with Ricochet, his own movie, Ricochet. We're going to start testing the waters with Denzel and see if we can make him a black star, you know, and black media, and move him and sell movies. Put John Lithgow in there, and Ricochet was the first movie to really kick things off for him. At this time, Eddie's the king. Eddie is the king of box office. He's not black box office, he's box office. He's beating white movies. So at this time, Eddie is the giant. When Eddie makes something, everybody gravitates towards Eddie. Will Smith is yet to make a movie. You know, like he's in television doing West Philadelphia, born and raised. So he was on television mostly. There was no 6 degrees of separation yet. So while he's doing this, Lawrence Fishburne was the only other person, the only other character who had this type of experience. But see, what Lawrence Fishburne did is he turned down certain movie roles because he was Larry, and then he changed his name to Lawrence so they would take him more serious. Because Larry Fishburne was looked at as a guy who kept playing a gangbanger, kept playing a crook, and he didn't want to be that person anymore. He didn't want to be looked at in that light. And roles like Serious Styles, and what he did in Boys in the Hood, that was more of his direction. So he turned down Spike Lee's film that Spike Lee had that was coming up because he didn't want to play the stereotypical role that Spike Lee wanted him to play, that Martin Scorsese and all these guys wanted to see him in. So he said, okay, well, I think someone told him, like, well, you won't go by your government name, so they don't take you serious. He's like, your name is Lawrence, and you're going as Larry. You know, you need to put Larry in the past and move on with Lawrence. So this is when Lawrence Fishburne became president, and he started going as Lawrence. He rebranded himself. He was more of a mature guy. He did theater. He did some plays. Did theater work, and he was Lawrence. Do not call me Larry. I am Lawrence. Larry's done. Larry did all the crazy roles back in the day. This is Lawrence, the actor. I'm the thespian. I'm Lawrence Fishburne. So that's when he started taking his craft more seriously. He kept toning it more to be more adult, to be more of what he needed to have it to be. Yes. It's never going to be, yeah, Deep Cover was the first solo movie for him. That's when they tried him out with Deep Cover. And from Deep Cover, it was supposed to launch him into a stratosphere. But by him being very selective on what he was going to choose, they started to say, oh, he thinks he's too good. He thinks he's too good for us. He's too good to do this. He's too good to do that. So they kept him in lower tier type of films because they felt he was too uppity. Meanwhile, Denzel. Oh, women love Denzel. Let's keep Denzel moving. They knew Denzel had a habit. So his character they write his habit into the movie about him doing drugs, doing diesel. They wrote his habit into the film. To really draw it out. That used to be his little side thing to kick. Then they start putting him in movies with white women because white women found him attractive. Now he's in movies with Julia Roberts. He's in all of these motion pictures. And they're putting Denzel to be the replacement for Eddie Murphy. Denzel was a serious actor. He didn't do comedy. You know, he wasn't a comedian. He was the guy who had the new look. Eddie was getting older. So they needed that young actor. So out of this whole pool, they chose Denzel. So Denzel was going to be the guy. Then, while making this television show, and spreading his butt cheeks for Hollywood, they said, all right, we got one. This guy spread his cheeks for success. And they were like, well, who are you talking about? And they said, this guy named Will Smith. He spread eagle. And he got down for the crown. We got to reward this guy because he's the one we want. So, plus Denzel's old. We need blood. Let's take this guy. So they did a film called 6 Degrees of Separation. This was his audition. So while doing said audition, everything started to go off the rails while doing this audition. Will Smith and what he called research for the character. This is what he tried to say. Benny Medina, who took him to Quincy Jones to get the money to do the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, had him in the room with all of these Tootsie Rolls, all these people in the Skittles crew. And he had to perform scenes on what was going to be the show live in front of these people so they can get money to do it. They had to believe Will Smith could do it. Right? Will Smith was married. Not many of y'all know that. Will got married to Cherie. He had a son. And this was going to be his breakthrough role. He was moving to California. And this was going to be his new thing. He was going to make a life for himself here. And this film, 6 Degrees of Separation, was going to put him on the map, where he plays this gay man. First big major role. Right? He's playing this gay man. So Denzel gave him some advice after it got to a point where Will Smith said, wait a minute, there's a scene where I have to do the kissing. I thought it was going to be a stunt double. My audience and the people that watch me might not respond well to me kissing a man. So C. Thomas Howell got upset. Oh, what does he mean? He doesn't want to kiss me. I'm just like, dude, you're playing, and he's like, I'm not a gay man. I'm a straight playing a gay role. And he's like, you know, it's disrespectful to the performance that he's not going to commit to the role. He's going to have a stunt double do it. And I'm like, do you want to kiss Will Smith? Is that what it is? Because that's what it sounds like right now. So anyway, he was mad at Will Smith over it. So they said Will Smith didn't do it. They got a stunt double to do it. And it was like, okay. They got a stunt double to do it, right? But if you watch the film, they shoot it from the back. And then you don't see, it looks very much like Will Smith. Oh, that's the best stunt double in the history of mankind. So I think they just put it out there that it was a stunt double. But it looked like Will Smith to me. You be the judge. Now, to prep for this movie, Will Smith had to think like a gay man. As Will Smith has said himself, he had to think as if he was a gay man. So he went to places that gay people would go. He went to gay bars. He went to not only gay bars, he went to places that only frequent late at night to cater to people who had, like, they would have these gay peep shows. He would go and watch, like, and order and rent man on man tapes. He was doing everything he could to know what it was like in the psyche. This is what he was saying, as what is his reasoning for the actions he was participating in. And it's like, this is what I wanted to know. I wanted to know what was happening here. Like, what is going on? What is the procedure? What is the movement? What is everything that is, moving forward with our actions? How we're progressing for this character. I want to know his psyche. I want to know what it's like in that world. So, as he was doing this and filming the movie, he started to, in his mind, fall in love with his co-star. And it was like, I was really becoming obsessed in the role. So I was falling in love with my actual character, like, and I'm trying to detox that out of my system. I was becoming a gay man. That's what he was saying, Will Smith, out of his own mouth, his own words. Will Smith said he was becoming a gay man by researching this role. Now, his first wife, his ex-wife, Cherie, who has his first son, Trey, they were married at the time. She comes home and she finds something very shocking about her husband. She never says what it is, but the word around the grapevine is that she came home to find Will with another man. That's the word around Hollywood. Word around the grapevine. I'm gonna let you guys know the truth. All right. She came home, found Will with a man. A lot of people said that man was Beanie Medina, the producer of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and in their home. So right then and there, all of that came full front and center. They immediately filed for a divorce. They immediately separated. Cherie could not be a part of any of that in her life, period. She was stunned, shocked, and thrown back. Now, if it's Benny Medina, I don't know for sure. That's the rumor. That's the Hollywood rumor. I'll tell you. It's the Hollywood rumor. So, once that happened, Cherie and Will split. She went to Martin Lawrence's house. Because Martin Lawrence and his wife, and they were best friends. His wife was Pat. He had married Pat at the time, and they had kids together and stuff. And her and Martin was going through problems, but she ran over to Pat's house. So she's at Martin Lawrence's wife's house at the time, and she's telling Pat what's going on. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Now, at this time, nobody really knows what's going on. Bad Boys has been filmed, and now Bad Boys is getting ready to come out. And this is the case. Bad Boys become a hit, and they were supposed to do a sequel. Will Smith said, this is why the sequel took so long to come out, y'all. Y'all ready to hear all this stuff? Hit the like button. Y'all ready to hear all this? He said, most definitely. Well, here it is, man, because we're going to go through it. Now we're gonna do a Patreon version that's gonna go paint an even darker picture than what you know. But what you definitely need to understand is there are two different levels that people don't really attach themselves to anymore. But they need to pay attention to because it's there. And because it's there, most people don't pay attention or look at the signs. And the signs are all there. Now, while they was doing this, Bad Boy 2 was out. I mean, Bad Boy 1 was out and it was a smash hit. And this is like 1994, 95, when they were filming and making this film, you know. So when this came out, this changed the narratives about Will Smith, and he was the cool guy after that. You know, Bad Boys made him Mike Lowry, the cool guy. So it changed the perception, and most black people didn't see 6 Degrees of Separation. That movie was for white folks and the people that was going to pay him the money, knowing that Will Smith was down to do whatever, whenever we need him to do it. So, Bad Boys comes out. They got him as an action star now. So he signs a mega deal. Right when he was about to, you know, blow up, he left. You know, Bad Boys was Will Smith. I mean, Martin Lawrence bringing that to Will, saying, let's do this. And it helped his career. And then Will Smith left him. They had a sequel that was supposed to come out in 1997, Bad Boys 2. And it's supposed to come out in 1997. And it took so long for it to come out because Martin was pissed. This is when him and Will really didn't talk too much for a while. They fell out because it was a lot of stuff going on at the time. And he felt like, man, dog, you left me hanging, you know, and you just left me out there, you know, and that wasn't right. Yeah, he left him hanging out there. And he was like, man, dog, I brought you into Bad Boys. I the one got, and they took you and made you the big action star. Yeah, people don't realize how far Bad Boys 1 is from actual Bad Boys. I told people, like, look, Bad Boys came out in 95. Bad Boys 2 came out in 2003. Right after that Bad Boys movie, he signed a major motion picture deal that was going to pay him like up to $20 million a film. He has signed a major deal to do Independence Day, all these big major motion pictures. Will Smith became the new action star because of Bad Boys. And Will and Martin Lawrence, who basically stole the show in Bad Boys, his character, he got the shaft. It was like, well, damn, this is it. Y'all just took Will Smith. Y'all just said, screw me. All right, cool. So Martin had to make his own movies and do his own thing, even though Bad Boys, he changed the entire script and switched it all the way around. Yeah, Bad Boys is going to be a franchise that they were going to control the narrative. The sequel was almost the same, but it was changed. But that's beside the point. I'm just saying he left Martin Lawrence. Martin wasn't happy about it because he basically signed a big motion. And Will is like, man, what do you want me to do? They came and offered me this $100-some million and said, we're gonna give you these movies, we're giving you $100-some million. And boom, there it was. Independence Day came out, Men in Black, boom, boom, boom. Big movie scripts for Will Smith. So his asking price was too much for them to do the sequel. He wasn't gonna go down and take a pay cut and take a hit. They was willing to pay him 5 million to do it. He's like, 5 million, dog. I'm making 20 million a movie. I can't can't go down to 5 million. So Will Smith was like, "You ungrateful mother." All right, cool. I'm gonna just do my thing, and I'm gonna blow it up on my side, and we'll see what happens then. So again, this was not accepted well. This was met with a lot of disdain. Hmm. So Will got all the big money right away because he took that other road. Denzel had to grind to get his, even though he was still making money and he was in the A list and all of this. They wanted Denzel to lead his own films. You know, Denzel was for the adults, the older adults that was 45 and up. They were loving Denzel. So his movies were always going to reach a certain audience level, a more mature audience. Where for the younger audience, Martin, Will Smith, and mostly Martin Lawrence, I mean, mostly Will Smith was the action star that they wanted to work with. And it pissed Martin off because he felt they just ditched him, you know. So I understood him. I understood why he was upset because he grind after that and was like, "Oh, you gonna leave me with nothing? Okay, bet." So he had to go. No, Martin went back to TV. He went back to the Martin show. He was leaving the show. That's what people don't know. He was leaving the show. Martin had been in movies. He did Do the Right Thing. He had a guest part in that. But House Party, he was Bilal. So he did House Party 1 and 2, and he was Bilal in both of those. So that was in the 90s. Before he even did that, he was in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy in 92. So before Bad Boys came out, he was already really introduced in House Party and being Eddie Murphy's best friend in Boomerang. So when Bad Boys came out, Martin Lawrence was bigger than Will Smith. So that's what I'm saying. So Will got the money and they didn't pay Martin. Really. They just was like, all right, you was good in the movie, but Will is the guy we want. So yeah, Will Smith was supposed to be in a thin line between love and hate. Will Smith was supposed to be in that movie. The movie changed for what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a guy messing around with a guy's woman. You know what I'm saying? It was Will. You know, Martin Lawrence supposed to be sleeping with Will Smith's woman, who they had auditioned for Ann Whitfield. But when she auditioned for the role, they decided to change the script around, and that was going to be the case. So he wanted Will to play in the movie, and he was supposed to be the rich man that she was with, and taking advantage of her. And she was the genius, and Will was this cold-hearted individual, like certain so different from his character, you know. And Martin Lawrence ended up sleeping with the girl. But that whole script changed to her being this scorned woman who he slept with and she wanted revenge. So they switched the whole script around based off her audition. So he continued to do Martin until it ended. But Martin was going to end in 1995. But he ended up staying and renewing because basically Will Smith didn't do Bad Boys 2. Bad Boys 2 was supposed to fund and that was going to come out. They were supposed to shoot that. So he didn't do that. So he took a role to make money because he produced, directed, he did all this work for Thin Line between Love and Hate. He did everything. Like he spent all his time on that he didn't even care about the Martin show no more. So those final 2 seasons, like he didn't even really care about Martin no more. It was over. So he did Nothing to Lose with Tim Robbins and all that in '97. Then he went to Life. He did Blue Streak. So his big money didn't come until until he did Big Mama's House. That's when he had passed out and everything. Passed out. All this stuff was going on with Martin. And when he did Big Mama's House in 2000, and then he had the movie already filmed. What's the worst thing that could happen? That didn't make any money, but he filmed that. Then he did Black Knight. He produced it himself. And that was the thing about Martin. Martin was always somebody that was hands-on. He was always serious. He'd be joking, then he'd get real serious about something. And he focused. So Will Smith decided, I think I'm in trouble. Because everything was going good for old Willie. Then it got out of his control. Oh, yeah. See, whatever, y'all didn't know Will was going through problems. So Will was too big to do it. Hmm. Well, you can have production credits and acting credits also. That's different. Yeah, Independence Day, Men in Black. Um, then he did Enemy of the State. So once he started doing films of that nature, these were the big budget films that he was gonna do. Then in 2000, he did The Legend of Badger Vance. All his movies was doing 100 movies until he decided to do that movie. And then he played Ali. Ali didn't really make that money back for him. And he was upset. I mean, they were upset because they didn't want him to play Muhammad Ali unless they had the right producer in it. But when he did Ali, this is going to get him over in Black America. So they said, okay, we're going to put some money behind Ali. Now that they got some white people making money off of it. So they wanted him to just do the sequel to Men in Black 2. So he said, I'll do the sequel, but I want you to support this Ali project. I want to be in it. So I want to play Muhammad Ali. This is my passion project. So they let him play it. He got nominated for an Oscar, and he didn't win it for Ali. They was like, we said we'll be behind it, and but it didn't really break the bank. So he did Men in Black 2, which everybody turned on their nose to and started to hate the movie right off the bat. Oh, this is terrible. So now he was like, damn, now I got a flop. I did Ali, Men in Black 2. I got paid, but the movie sucked. The critics didn't like it. Now I'm down on my luck. I need a win. So now Martin Lawrence is up there. He did Big Mama's House. So now he's a big player. He's up there now making big money. And Will is making big money. The studios come back together with Michael Bay. And and they got Bad Boys too. They was like, man, look, Will needed a hit. So he was able to come down on his price. So him and Martin end up saying, look, we're going to split this and let's do Bad Boys 2. Martin was going through some things at the time when he was making Bad Boys 2 for the promotional thing. He got mad saying he's not going to go overseas to promote it. Well, Bad Boy 2 was a problem because there's 3 writers in there, and as crazy as the movie is, the dynamic works between Will and Martin Lawrence. But Bad Boys 2 is probably one of the worst ones they've made because it's like 3 different movies. It's got like 3 different endings. You got Gabrielle Union, who's just there. She's the useless addition they just threw in the movie. I'm like, she really has no place here in this film. But the scenes are funny. There's a lot of action, and it paid off. It put Will Smith back into the good spot again. You know, he's back being the ladies' man, Will. And, you know, people see him as Mike Lowrey. And that's what he wants you to see him as. See me as Mike Lowrey. And Bad Boys 2 put him in there like, all right, he's back. Next thing you know, he's doing iRobot. He's got Shark Tale. He got Hitch. He's got all these movies coming out. The Pursuit of Happiness, I Am Legend, Hancock, 100 million, 100 million, 100 million, 100 million. Dog, he is breaking the box office now after Bad Boys 2. That's how they lay it out. Then it became Will Smith fatigue after Men in Black 3 comes out in like 2012. Then they were like, we're through with Will Smith. And they just flushed him out. When he did the movie with his son, After Earth, and he didn't do the Independence Day movie they wanted him to do, and he did After Earth and went against the grain, they said, that's it. Then he did Focus, which was a really good movie they didn't promote. Concussion, a really good movie they didn't promote. He was good in Suicide Squad, they didn't promote. Bright, he was good, and they didn't promote. Collateral Beauty, the genie in Aladdin, he did a good job in that. They didn't promote. Gemini Man, they didn't promote. Bad Boys for Life, the only thing that could keep doing it and saving him. And then he smacked Chris Rock. Emancipation comes out. Bad Boys Ride or Die come out. This is the trend. You see how that goes, buddy? If you haven't seen Focus, I don't know where you've been, but definitely go watch Focus. It's one of Will Smith's best films. Pursuit of Happiness is the best film. He did a great job playing Serena Williams' father. It's one of his best roles. Mm. No. Will Smith was auditioning women to be his wife after Cherie. Um, it was just like it was on the movie role. He had Nia Long. He was auditioning for the Fresh Prince of Bel Air to be his girl in real life. He was auditioning Vivica A. Fox. He was dating her, trying to see if this was going to be something he could be with for the rest of his life. He tried to get with Pep, but she was too hood and he was too square for her, so that wasn't gonna work. And Jada won. Jada got dumped by Grant Hill. Grant Hill dumped Jada Pinkett uh after what's his name came out. Yeah, after Jada, what was that movie? Jason's Lyric. That's it. After Jason's Lyric came out, yep, Grant Hill broke up with her because his parents is like, that girl, no, Grant, that's not gonna work out. Yeah, they dated for like a year because Grant was ready to settle down, have kids, have a family, the whole nine. But Grant Hill got mother and father that wasn't playing that. Calvin Hill and his mom, they weren't tolerating that. Let me tell you about Fences. The best Fences performance comes from James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones had that role first before Denzel. In his performance of Fences, not taking anything away from Denzel because he played a great part and he played the role a little bit differently than James Earl Jones, but it was efficient, very efficient. And was very much so the winning way. Lawrence Fishburne, because they felt he was too prideful and thought he was better than what he really was, but he really was just that good. They never understood the process of people screaming or doing things that others just don't understand. Fences was gold. Hey, Kyrie, can you believe Ro talking about he didn't get no notification? I didn't know you was live. I didn't get a notification. Like, dude, what is you talking about? What are you talking about? Yep. Well, you got to understand there are different parameters that are set for different people who do different things or different acts. There are people who are essentially okay with situations and others who just aren't. That's just the way it is. Mm-mm. Yeah, it was very underrated. Now, the Will Smith lawsuit, we're going to get into that on the Patreon because we're going to go through a whole different door than what you guys are really understanding about the characters in the situation and what was really going on there. But Hollywood has played this game, right? MGM was the main people who was putting the test run. They're now bankrupt, but they were the ones doing this test run to see who was who and what was what. They wanted to showcase Will's talents, but put him on display because he wanted to make it so bad in Hollywood. He bit the apple to get there. If you look at 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of separation is pretty much a storytelling of Hollywood real life. If you look at it, this stuff happened in an audition room. One theater acting class that was in Burbank. Their job is to screen actors, and they keep them in a room. And they'll have all of these elite people over, and these guys are producers, entertainers, right? These people are entertainers, actors, film producers, their wives. And they'll be having dinner, they'll be having cocktails, they'll be sitting down in a chair, and will have you come in there and entertain them by doing lines from an upcoming scene. The big old man will sit in the middle. He's the big cheese. He's the big money. He don't care what you do. He wants to see how far you're going to bend for him. That is the whole plan. Hit the like button, y'all. I know y'all just got in here. Here's what they do. The old man will sit there in the middle, and they saying, I hear you want to play this movie role. Like you're really excited about this character. And then the guy would say, well, your character's in a tough scene, right? He's in love with this guy, but he can't tell his wife. And she all of a sudden finds some information about him. But he wants to keep it a secret. But he has to keep coming up with new lies. How do you explain that? Let's see how you do with that. Go start from there. She walks in. Terry, yeah, you're the wife. You just come in. You found something on the phone. Go. Scene. Go. Action. And then right then and there on the spot, you got to start coming up with something. And that's how it works. Hollywood is this very weird and different place. There are no lines. And if you have lines, you're not going to be in Hollywood very long. You have to be willing to close a blind eye to what you saw. You can't report on things you saw. You can't go down these lines because these lines are going to keep you away from everything. None of these people care. They just don't. Rich folks just don't have time to care. They don't care. They don't need the money from the film. They're already rich. They own studios. They don't know that this like it's so much going on in Hollywood with these production, these films. All you got to do is ask yourself these questions, right? I mean, this is what you really need to ask yourself. How does these actresses pay their bills? They haven't had a hit movie in 30 years, but yet they can live in Hollywood. It's like, what are they doing for work? How do these actresses have money? How do they still can live in this place? Someone must be taking care of them because they know the game. They get into movies to audition themselves to be with men with money. Because most people don't understand that they're not in control. Well, most of them, they understand they're not in control of the situation. So when you grow up in Hollywood and you're not prepared or you don't have strong parents, this is how it plays out. Jada was perfect for Will. She was someone who experimented with women and men and just was sleeping with some everybody. Will having an affair with his best friend, all of this stuff is been in the internet space. The Like, who cares who Will Smith sleep with? Like, who cares really? you know. But if you somebody that is in Hollywood and trying to survive, the decisions that other people make, well, it's kind of telling. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like breaks you down a little bit. Because when you're like watching it or paying attention to it, you start to understand that this thing is a little bigger than what you thought. And it's a bit of a problem. So when you start seeing the outlining scenarios as to what's going on, yeah, it's like an outlining situation. And once you start moving, yeah, I mean, these people been knowing about Will for years. Nobody cared who Will sleeping with. But what's happening is you look at their children. You know, MC Light and MC Light and what's his name? MC Light and Jada Pinkett Smith was getting down for years, you know, and Will Smith getting bust by the white guy and him being a bottom piece, you know. This stuff been going on for years in Hollywood, and this is how Will got his $100 million, you know. This is what got him over in white Hollywood. You know, and it's quite unfortunate that when you see scenes like that, you understand that like the commercial, what would you do for a Klondike bar? What would you do for a Klondike bar? What would you do for a Klondike bar? And this is why. This movie wasn't made for black America, and this is why he was able to do it because he knew most black men in America ain't gonna watch that movie. Yes, very much so. Now, everybody can put themselves in a different perspective. Yes. It's putting yourself in the mind of a person that doesn't understand how the world works. Yeah, well, when you start going through individual or life changes, you're looking at a different realm on what is America, what isn't America, what is a disclosure or well, it's a lot of problems. You know, when you have a lot of problems, you've done a lot of damage. This country is in a free fall. Eddie Kane. Eddie Kane, man, that was our guy from the Five Heartbeats. But he was one of the best actors we had ever seen. Michael Wright. Um, Drugs took the career of Michael Wright. Michael Wright was one of the best natural actors there is. Way stronger presence than Denzel, all of these other actors you've seen. I first saw him in the Visitor series in the 80s. You know, this man was super talented, beyond compare. But after the Five Heartbeat success, you know, it became something incredibly different when he played Eddie Kane, which was really an autobiography of the Temptations. And the Five Heartbeats, which I find to be the best movie between that and the Temptations movie. Like both of them, but Leon was in both. But we'll go through the truth on that one on another time. But Michael Wright was clearly him with the bazooka. Yep. And then I saw him in the movie The Bodyguard. I mean, The Principal with Jim Belushi. And, you know, he just fell into the world of drugs in real time, you know. And this is one of Hollywood's most natural gifted actors in Hollywood, man. And it was sad what happened to him. And I was somebody who was a huge fan of him. Sugar Hill, him and Wesley Snipes playing off each other. Well, yeah, well, when you're doing things that are not progressively entertaining, let's say it's a distraction, let's say it's against protocol or it's against what everyone is saying the end all be all should be. You're looking at a dynamic that doesn't add up or make sense. Well, when you start seeing, no, no, man. That's what I'm saying. They had movie roles that they gave to white athletes or white actors that should have went to black actors who auditioned and killed the role, but they said putting a black face in the movie wasn't going to work. When Lawrence Fishburne uh, didn't show up or he felt he was too big for a role, they said, "Oh, okay, well, screw it. We won't deal with you. We'll go another route." So that's how you start to see a change between Spike Lee and John Singleton. When John came along, he saw the talent in Lawrence Fishburne and wanted to make him a professor in higher learning. He wanted to make him serious styles. You know, he saw the skill in which he possessed. So him being a professor in higher learning, it made sense to bring Lawrence Fishburne in for that. Because he was like, I want to do like, Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, all these guys, they work with their friends. They work with their talented friends. And it's no problem for them to do it. They don't have to audition people and say, okay, well, let's get this person in. And they're going to say, oh, you got the role, you got the role, and you got the role. Y'all my friends, y'all got the role. Adam Sandler, do the same thing. Black people, oh, can't do that. Why? Because you're playing with other people's money. So they control the money, they control who they want you to put in there. The studio might have a holding contract with an actor. So they'll say, hey, we got a holding contract with this guy, which means he's signed to the studio. So even when they're not making a movie, that actor has to be paid because you're holding him from going to make other movies. So while you got a holding deal on him, you're paying him millions and millions of dollars. So if that movie's coming up and you feel like, hey, we're paying this guy anyway, stick him in this movie. That explains Emil Hirsch's career. Right. Eddie Murphy got Beverly Hills Cop from Sylvester Stallone. If he wasn't Eddie Murphy, that wouldn't have even happened. They had to change the whole script. Sylvester Stallone took the script with him and made it another movie to come out right after Beverly Hills Cop called Cobra. That was the Beverly Hills Cop movie script. A lot of people don't know that. 90s action movies? Come on. 90s action movies. Oh my God. I'll never forget. They had a movie come out in 1995 called Hackers, right? So Hackers is coming out, and Hackers is this big like international hackers thing, and they had a black actor who auditioned for the role, killed the part, but they were like, well, the role is for a Caucasian European guy, it's more emo. Their target audience was young teenage boys and girls, white. Kadeem Hardison, who was in a lot of movies, he was on TV show hit, was a black actor. They felt that he wasn't an action star. He done a lot of comedy. So they said, well, let's wait on putting him in these type of movies. They was like thinking about putting him in a action movie that wasn't going to pan out. So in 1996, he was auditioning for a role called Anaconda. And they chose Ice Cube over Kadeem Hardison. Trust me, there's stuff y'all don't even know. Ice Cube got selected based off the popularity of Friday. Because of Friday, he got Anaconda. No, Kadeem Hardison ended up doing a small movie with Mark DeCos, what's his name? DeCoscos, the guy who played the Iron Chef, called Drive. So he did a low budget movie called Drive. Yeah, lost the big budget movie and got that one. Well, that was all you could get. Mario Van Peebles, who was a director, a writer, and an actor. Black Hollywood was not interested in that. He had a hit with New Jack City, and he started to do his own films. He did the Highlander, and he produced the third one and started trying to make his own movies. And then they wouldn't cast him for movie roles because he was producing it. But they gave money to Andrew Dice Clay to do The Brain Smasher, a love story with Terry Hatcher. They gave money to Jeff Speakman, a guy nobody ever heard of, to make the movie The Perfect Weapon. Trust me, there's so much you don't know. The Big Hit was supposed to be an action comedy crime movie that was supposed to star 1998, y'all. Who was a black comedian in 1998 that was hot? Sonny Spoon. No, it ain't Bernie Mac for no action movie. It was not. Mark Wahlberg ended up playing this role. This role was not supposed to go to a white guy. This role, The Big Hit, was actually a black guy in the role. Wasn't Martin Lawrence. Wasn't Will Smith doing this role. They were too expensive at this time. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx was supposed to do the big hit in 1998. This was the movie he was going to star in with Bokeem Woodbine. Mark Wahlberg ended up coming in the middle of the movie. Yeah, Bokeem did a lot of movies and a lot of drugs at the time. And they had Lou Diamond Phillips, and they changed this whole script. They brought all of these guys in there together. Lou Diamond Phillips, Bokeem, like they never had this script really drawn out to what they were actually trying to make it to be. But Mark Wahlberg was not the leading role. But because they were trying to make Marky Mark a real big action star in Hollywood, he had all of the connections of his rap career was coming to an end, so they need to move him to movies and make him a big star. They had put all this money into him. But Jamie Foxx, that was his movie. Mm. Oh, they pick people like that. Patrick Dempsey, Run. The movie Run in 1991, that was with Kelly Preston and Patrick Dempsey. That wasn't supposed to be any of these actors. The movie Run, when Run first came out, this movie was supposed to have a lot of different people in the running for this. Eric Stoltz was one that was chosen for this role. And they said, well, Eric Stoltz and Run, he doesn't look like a guy that could run. So Patrick Dempsey was the guy that everybody was like, oh, this guy, they trying to make Patrick Dempsey this big star. He had done Can't Buy Me Love and all of these different movies for the teens. So they felt we got to get a young white face to play this role. Where he's a bartender who accidentally killed somebody who was a mobster, and now he's on the run. Now, they don't even play this anymore. But in that film, in 1991, who was supposed to be the star in that movie, that they had it laid out. I forgot the guy's name. They wanted him to play this role. Gosh, what is his name? Can't think of his goddamn name. It wasn't Corey Feldman or Corey Haim. It wasn't neither of them. It was, oh gosh, he's older now. I see him more in stuff now that he's older, but he was an actor that was, he was in Career Opportunities. He played in, no, it wasn't Emilio Estevez. Gosh, I can't think of that guy's name. Wasn't Christian Slater. They were too expensive at the time. This was a low budget movie. Jonathan Silverman, was that his name? Let me see. Jonathan Silverman. Let's see what he looks like. No, it's not Jonathan Silverman. I thought that was Jonathan Silverman. No, it wasn't Jonathan Silverman. That's Weekend at Bernie's guy. No, not him. Career opportunities. No, One River Phoenix. Like I said, they're too expensive. Career opportunities. Okay, that's the guy. That is him. But I don't know his goddamn name. But that's him. You've seen him in 1,000 different things. But I'll show you his face. You see him in older stuff now. Him. That actor. Can't think of his name. He was the guy. He was supposed to be in the movie Run. He was the star. Right. Oh, that guy. Yep. That guy. So he was the guy they were bringing up. This was really the sequel to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, too. You guys didn't know it, but this was the sequel to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Matthew Brockwood wasn't doing it. This was written by the same guy. He just changed his name and made career opportunities to show you what happened to Ferris in his life after high school. His hairstyle is like Ferris. Everything is like Ferris Bueller. And reality, yeah. Frank Wally. Okay, that's his name, Frank Wally. Yeah, well, Frank Wally was supposed to have that role. But when the movie was first written, the movie Run, the first movie that they put together, it was about a black bartender who fought a mob guy who was fighting a woman, and there was a black man who was supposed to play the role. The character was somebody black. So, just to let you know, this is how it rolls, man. This is how it rolls. Yeah, that movie had a black bartender in a bar who saves this white girl from getting beat up by a mobster boyfriend who accidentally throws her. She hits her head and she passes out. Well, the guy, well, she doesn't die. He dies. The mobster guy. And then now the mob is like, oh, he killed them and they're just out to kill him. And they were trying to say it was an accident. The guy was attacking him. And that's how the Run movie went. But it was a black character. They turned it to a white character. And there it is. Who's the black actor in 1991 that they had in mind? Who knows? But I can tell you one thing, the character was written for a black guy. And they changed it to a white guy. Better optics. Well, Storm of the Century, where people have, yes, very much so. Mm-mm. Nobody was checking for any of those movies back then. Oh no, Keenan Ivory Wayans was trying to get funding for Low Down Dirty Shame Part Two, because the thing was he was supposed to do Shaft. He wanted to redo Shaft, but they didn't have the rights for it, and they wanted to hold on. The studio wanted to hold on to the rights of Shaft. So he said, "All right, well, I'm gonna do Shaft without doing Shaft. I'm gonna do Low Down Dirty Shame," which is really right. He wanted to make a comedy version. Lawrence Fishburne really took off once, you know, The Matrix really came through. And that was a role he wasn't even going to do. Yeah, Kurt Russell, they pushed him to the side for all these other dilemmas and situations where all these other people are making decisions. Oh no. Are you kidding me? They pulled money out of all these films that was supposed to go to black movies. They don't get to do a lot of reshoots on black films. They got to just roll with it because they'll cut the budget. But Arnold Schwarzenegger took all the budget money and complained that he needed to kill more people. So when you see that scene in Hollywood Shuffle, they're mad that they only get to kill this many people in the movie, and he's like, I want. Why can't it be 42? You killed 41 people in this movie. Why can't it be 42? That actually happened on the set of an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie in Commando. He had killed the most people on screen. But then he wanted to kill more people on the screen. Mm, no, it was never that case. Come on. Look, Conan 2, right? Conan the Barbarian 2. When they did Conan the Barbarian 2, right? That was supposed to be the end for Arnold Schwarzenegger doing Conan movies. He didn't want to do another one. Arnold Schwarzenegger's discography? Are you kidding me? Or filmography? Because he don't make discs. So Arnold Schwarzenegger's filmography? It's massive. But he didn't want to make these type of films anymore. He didn't want to make another Conan the Barbarian. Now, most people didn't understand back in the 80s, the money was not the same. People were entirely different. And films were done differently than it was in the 90s. Right. So when they did, what was it, Conan the Barbarian? It was Conan the Destroyer. And after that, he went to Hollywood. And once he did that, it was entirely different. He did the Terminator, and that was the breakout role for him. So he wasn't going back to doing Conan movies no more. He was going to do big budget films. That was his first breakout hit, him playing the Terminator. So him having a contract to do a movie, he went and did Red Sonja. But because of the fallout with the Conan people, he couldn't do the it couldn't be titled Conan. So Red Sonja was Bridget Nielsen in there, and she's with basically Conan. And this was the last like time he did one of those films because it was on the schedule to do, and that was the last one. He didn't want to do that role anymore, but he completed the contract by doing. He was basically Conan in there, but it wasn't. No, he did Commando. That's the one that was next. It was his answer back to Rambo. He was Commando. I love Commando. It's a guilty pleasure film. Like Raw Deal was a great one. Like a lot of people didn't understand how good Raw Deal was. Filmed in Chicago, mostly, you know. Raw Deal don't get a lot of credit. Yeah. Then Predator. And after Predator, everything took off. But he looked out for actors such as Jesse the Body Ventura, who he had in Commando, and he had in Predator, and he did like Red Heat with Jim Belushi. Mm-hmm. No. Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle isn't funny anymore. Stop. No, you know what happened to Dave Chappelle? Once he decided, when Dave Chappelle decided he was gonna renege on a $50 million deal, Dave Chappelle contract, he can't never really tell you what it was. The contract was more than 50 million. That's what people don't tell you. That's the minimum of what Dave Chappelle could earn. He gets paid on the, he's a producer of the show. So he's getting points as a producer as well. So 50 million is just not like a base salary for Dave. It's entirely different. Contracts have all different type of stipulations in it. The terminology that says these contracts can use your name and likeness and perpetuity, what they call perpetuity throughout the entire universe for as long as you're signed to that paper. They own it. So it's complicated when you own your name, when you've been using your name. Once you sign that deal, they own your likeness rights. They own visual, audio. They can own all of it. So they control you. They own you. And once Dave Chappelle realized to what extent what happened to him if he chose to keep, you know, I'm gonna stir the pot. I'm a black man who can do what he want to do. They said, "Oh, you want to play that game?" They showed him what was behind door number two. It said, "Dave, either you go back to work, or it's your choice. You will never work again in this business." Basically, it. And they basically showed them the power they had. Oh, what they were going to do to Dave Chappelle? Easy. They were going to have Dave Chappelle committed. They were going to strip him. They told him he'll never work again. They're going to strip him of everything if he didn't go back to work. And they was like, there's nowhere you could go. If you go to the doctor, we're going to know about it. Anywhere in this world, hospitals, doctors, everything, your medical coverage, all of it's gone. We own it all, Dave. So we tried to be nice to you. We tried to work on your schedule, but You think you're the boss, you're in control. You're not. And in this meeting, he got to see the real executives, the people at Viacom, and all these people who felt we got to put him in his place. And they scared the life out of Dave Chappelle. And once he realized the power they had, he thought they were bluffing at first. Like, there's no way. So Dave was sitting at home. And the next thing you know, it says, Dave has been really stressed at work. People who was his best friends, Michael Brennan, who was his partner, like, Dave, you're blowing this. This is the money. This is what we've been waiting for, Dave. What are you doing? He'd been battling his whole life. He ain't been as funny as Chappelle. He was good in sketch comedy too, but he know he ain't Chappelle. And Dave's like, man, we done made it all the way here. Now you want to blow everything up. Why? Why, Dave? He was just destructive. That's just all he knew. So they decided, okay, let's crank up the intensity. Let's crank up everything right now to a fever pitch, to where everything needs to be. We're going to make it a fever pitch. So they decided, all right, we're going to make it a fever pitch. We're going to go down this whole umbrella and change the dynamics. Dave Chappelle was brought in, and they said, well, Dave, this is what's going to happen. And Mike Brennan started doing everything in his power to align himself with the organization and the company. No. They put the fear in God in Dave because they showed him things that he knew everything. Dave didn't know they knew as much as they did. And that they had the power to take away everything, his show, everything. He thought he could take the show. Foolishly, Dave Chappelle thought that he could take the show and go do a show somewhere else. I'll just take my show and go somewhere else. But right now, I just want to thank all this stress and these deadlines and all this is stress. So when he saw Mark Brennan, his partner, come out and say, Dave's been stressed lately. Dave has really been under a lot of pressure. He was like, Mark Brennan has not even had a conversation with me. How the hell he know I'm stressed? Like everybody at the company is stressed. We all be coming through, but everybody's like, "Oh, I'm scared for Dave's health. Like Dave might commit suicide." Like Dave Chappelle has been really stressed out, and he's been under a lot of pressure. Dave, don't do it, Dave. Dave is like he's not mentally well, and he walked off the show. He's been erratic. So Dave Chappelle's like, "Oh shit, they're really doing it. They gonna kill me. They gonna put me in a hospital and hit me up with so much dope. I'm gonna be gone mentally. I'm gonna be a vegetable." So Dave Chappelle booked. He didn't even talk to his wife. He booked the flight personally for himself to go to Africa. He just jumped on a plane, booked it one-way trip to Africa, and got the hell up out of town. The wife was mad because he didn't even tell her. Now, here's the kicker. Dave Chappelle is from Africa. Like, his people are from there. So he really went back to just get unattached and get back around some people, some realness, and like, this is crazy. So when Dave came back and they heard Dave Chappelle went to Africa, people started to say, "Hey, what's going on here with Dave?" Like, what's going on now? All the black folks start paying attention. But Dave Chappelle could never, ever divulge what actually happened. Have you ever noticed that Dave Chappelle has never fully came out and told you exactly what happened? Because he can't. Because if he tells you what happened, he's gone. Now, Dave know what he was shown, what happened, and he wants to create scenarios. So that people will get it and understand. So, with the studio realizing they had all this material from Dave Chappelle already signed up, already in agreement, the whole nine. No, it's confirming a lot of different things, a lot of different elements that was put in play. Because when you look at what's in the contract and what's not in the contract, this is when Dave Chappelle spoke to Prince. Dave Chappelle is not going to tell you this. Maybe he will. Now he's safe. He talked to Prince. Because Chappelle's show, Prince's name was back popular. People was asking about Prince's basketball career. So Prince was happy when Dave Chappelle told the story about him, the pancakes, and all of these things. So when all of that came out, Prince, like Rick James' name was flying around, people was very excited. And he talked to Prince about what it was like and why he couldn't even use his own name when his name is Prince Rogers Nelson. And he said, "Man, you was the artist formerly known as Prince. They took your name. So when you sign that contract and they paying you all this money, they own you. You are really a slave." And Prince started to break it down to him and telling him what was going on, how to play it. And Prince got him on Oprah. Said, "I'm going to have you sit down with Oprah. Once you sit down on that show, they won't be able to do anything to you. That's what he said. They won't be able to do anything to you. Once you sit on that couch and you talk to Oprah, they can't touch you. They won't be able to touch you after that. And he says, you won't get that 50 million, but the 50 million that they're paying you, you're making them about 200 million a year plus. Not to mention in backlogs. So that 50 million over so many years, they're making about 200 million off of you per year. And you're the face of the network. So all the other shows, they use you to market their network. So you're really driving hundreds of millions of dollars, $250 million to that company a year. And they're only paying you $50 million for like 4 years. So Prince knew exactly what was going on. Yes, Prince. I mean, Dave Chappelle's mother is from like Ghana. Like they are actually from really, that's their heritage. They're like from Ghana. They come from over there. Like his mother used to teach and stuff over there. So Chappelle got cousins and stuff over there. So he was good when he went to Africa. They just thought he just ran Africa and just start running behind a zebra or something, just running crazy. Ah, I'm in Africa. So, yeah, so that's how they made it look. They made it appear as if Dave Chappelle was just this crazy man who just was doing crazy stuff all the time. Because Hollywood, they put people in these brackets. And the thing is, they rigged the game so that you can't go back and help your community in the ways that you want. Because the worst thing you could do is give people money. You have to give them jobs. You have to give them opportunities. But the thing of the nature is you have to create a circle, like basically enterprise, some type of foundation to be able to put your family in a winning position. You see, this is what white people do. They come up with a way to make it so that everybody around is gonna eat. Saying, hey, what's your name? Yeah, you're gonna eat. What's your name? Oh, you're gonna eat. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get a family trust. Everybody's in the family trust. You're gonna live on the estate, the property, and we're all gonna be good. See, it's a whole different environment. Now, can't nobody say anything because now this all makes sense. Chappelle started going into this whole thing of being stressed out. So when he was on his ranch with the money he had, he was doing comedy shows and doing stand up, and he was using his name, Dave Chappelle. They couldn't do that because Comedy Central wouldn't risk anybody doing anything to Dave. So they put out anybody they could to keep the season 3 of Chappelle's show the way it was. They released it the way they wanted to release it. And to this day, Netflix refused to add that season to the fray. Even though they had some good jokes in that season 3, some good skits. Chappelle didn't like that season 3, so just the 2 seasons and that was it. Instead of just capitalizing off of the Chappelle show, they do what a lot of shows do: influence. They want more influence on the show.
I was walking away from the circumstances with the newfound plateau. Yeah. It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14. I've heard the stories, seen these kinds of things play out in front of me. I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made $100 million deal, and then 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me." Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories. And it always happens around the time of their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau. Yeah. It's incredibly stressful. Yeah. And I felt like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress because, when you're a guy that generates money, yeah, people have a vested interest in controlling.
Yep. And when you go through that scenario, when people are trying to control you because you're about to go into a whole different plateau, they need to vet you before you walk through that door. And you're not going to walk through that door if they don't trust you, if they don't understand you. You work all your life for something, and you think that because you're hard work, like, man, I'm making it, finally they see me. They don't care about seeing you. They care about, can they use you? And they can't use you if they can't control you. And that's the dynamic. They need to have that control over you. But by Dave Chappelle being gone for so long, and all of these people at Comedy Central, they couldn't really move forward without him because they knew the public was like, hey, y'all screwed over Dave. And black folks was involved, white folks was involved. They was, hey, we love Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle did stand up for like 4 or 5 years straight till the contract has basically expired. It was null and void. The contract is gone. But they owned Dave's name, and he couldn't really do anything for years till they reached a settlement agreement. So they reached a settlement so they can go ahead and say, all right, we can move because he's the producer of the Chappelle show as well. So you can't make a move without Dave. So in the settlement agreement, he didn't agree in that when he took the money, even though everything was theirs to do, they went and did a Netflix deal where they got the Chappelle show. And he was, oh hell no. I don't want I don't want this to be, yeah, he didn't want that to be the dynamic. They wanted him to continue to do more racial stuff, because they was like, Dave Chappelle could do these jokes and push him over, and there's no problem. And there was a lot of black folks that I know didn't like the Chappelle show. They didn't like Clayton Dixon and all that. They was like, no, I think he's an undercover Tom and he's a plant. And Dave Chappelle is really, no, he's making fun of black people. He didn't like a lot of those skits. So now the pressure was out because Dave was getting that from black folks about those skits. So that this time around, and they was doing these skits, and they was like, man, I don't know about this one, Dave. Like some of them skits was funny, then the other one was like, I don't know about this one. They was just not as funny. They was just, you know, it was there, but it wasn't as funny. It was more like, we're doing this just to be doing it. Well, Prince, unfortunately for him, he knew he was a target. His problem is his addiction was fame. Like the actual playing of music. He was tortured by the guilt of his father, Francis L., of being perfectionist and the fact that he never could get his father's approval for anything. His father always thought he was better than Prince, and his son could never really match him in anything. That's how Francis L. was. Even though he taught Prince to master playing all of these instruments, he never ever could take that from him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he met the guys that he made jokes about. He met the real ones. Once he saw the real power in the industry, right? Mariah Carey broke down because of the power. Her husband was the most powerful man in music. The same thing she loved was starting to whoop her ass. Martin Lawrence goes crazy on the middle of the street, waving a gun around. And they were ready to take Martin Lawrence out on the streets because they knew Martin's affliction. They knew about his drugs he was taking. They knew about his erratic behavior because of the drugs. Everybody pretty much know this stuff, man. I mean, it's news to us, but it ain't news. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows this in Hollywood. This is not something that's like a great shock. Dave Chappelle is from Africa. Dave was gonna move there. Yeah, he was gonna move back there. Mm-hmm. Oh, they did the same thing to Chris Rock. See, people don't realize Chris Rock had the same deal with HBO. You see, none of these guys really knew until they got around each other. But the way they rallied around Dave Chappelle, they really should have rallied around others. Because let me get realistic with you. Dave Chappelle's white friend, Mark Brenneman, whatever, he's the one that sold Dave out. He was like, well, they were like, can you run the Chappelle show without Dave? Oh, yeah, I write the jokes. The majority of the jokes, I write. He was taking all this credit. Now, before the Chappelle show, there was the Chris Rock show with Pootie Tang. Pootie. So when Pootie Tang came out, Pootie Tang was the biggest thing going. Now, why and how did Chris Rock get that deal? Because he did Bring the Pain. Bring the Pain as great as it was, it became and won the award for Best Comedy of the Year. And normally when you slayed on HBO, you got movie deals. But no movie deals were coming for Chris Rock. And he watched everybody else get deals except him. Kid you not. Rock sat back and watched everybody get a movie deal except him. The hottest comedian in the world broke all viewership records on HBO for a live HBO comedy special. And they love Bring the Pain. They only remember one joke. People that are non-black. They remember one main sticking joke when it comes to Chris Rock. When he says, when I go to the ATM at 4 in the morning, I'm not looking for the medium. I'm looking for Ickes. Once he said that, white America stood up and applauded. That's what I'm saying. Look, it's not racial. Look, Chris Rock just said it. Hey, I mean, look. When I go to the ATM, I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm not looking. I am looking. See, Chris Rock's looking for the same thing, so it ain't racist. They love that joke so much. That was the joke that made white went like, I love Chris Rock because he's just honest. But something happened. He did his follow-up HBO special. HBO paid him a fortune to do it. They were bringing him back. They said, well, the first one went through and everybody should have had you in a movie by now. That special was the biggest thing going. Right? Bring the Pain. That was in 1996. Every big movie that came out that he thought he was going to get, he didn't get. He lost movie roles that he thought for sure he was going to get. They had Samuel L. Jackson in the movie called The Great White Hype. And Chris Rock didn't get that role in the movie. They gave the role to Jamie Foxx, playing the manager, and not Chris Rock. He thought it was outrageous. Who's Jamie Foxx? To Chris Rock. But he came out with Bigger and Blacker. Three years after Bring the Pain and going on these auditions for movies, Rock came out with Bigger and Blacker. And Bigger and Blacker was way better, in my opinion, than Bring the Pain. Way better. And way blacker. And he kept it real black on Bring the Pain. He was letting everybody know I haven't crossed over. I just got a little bit of money now. So when he did all of these things on Bigger and Blacker, he said, ain't a white person out there would want to trade places with me for a minute. And I'm rich. 3 years after having the biggest comedy special in the world, he comes out with Bigger and Blacker. And you know what happened? Chris Rock got his first big break. They put him in Lethal Weapon 4. They felt so bad. Lethal Weapon 4. They said, give him a little intro with Chris Rock, Lethal Weapon 4. His first real big break. Like, let's try to put him in the movie and see what happens. Forced him into the movie. Lieutenant Butters. Just didn't fit at all. But it was cool he did that. Then they put him in the movie Bad Company. They rolled out the bankroll for him. But something started to change for old Chris Rock. See, they love Rock doing all the black stuff and doing this and staying in that little boat and going over to be the comic relief in these movies. And they put him in Bad Company with Anthony Hopkins, thinking that, okay, well, let's see if we have another Eddie Murphy here. Put him with an old white guy and maybe this will work. No, it didn't work. But Chris Rock just can't act. It's not his problem. It's not his fault at all. He just can't act. And he tries very hard. He's improved a lot more since then. He's a better actor now. It's just that he can't play certain roles. Like, he can't play a detective. Like, when I saw him in there, I'm like, you don't have a commanding voice to be in this position. But I wondered why he was there. He produced that damn Spiral movie where I'm like, who would hire Chris Rock to play this role? He's way out of place. Then it was like produced by Chris Rock. I said, oh, okay, yeah, there it is. He put himself as the star. Okay. Head of State was great, but he stole that from Chris Tucker. I already did the video and told you that. He stole the movie from Chris Tucker. Yes, definitely. Jamie Foxx is a better actor. He was always because he was a better performer. I mean, that's all he ever did. Jamie Foxx was a ladies' man. Like he was a John. That's how he made it in comedy. He used to sleep with the woman who had the comedy store. She used to always put Jamie on, even though he wasn't funny. She would put him on and they'd be ready to boo, and then he would start going to the piano, start playing on the piano and singing. Mary, Mary, quit your carry. How do your garden grow? And then they start cheering. Oh, he can sing. Every time he would bomb. No, Jamie was a con artist. That's how he was able to do it. He wanted this comedy thing to work, but he did the Wanda thing on stage in his comedy act, and he brought the Wanda thing to the show. Somebody else had did Wanda first. This dude that his name was Derek. He was on Def Comedy Jam, and he took it and turned it into Wanda. I think her name was like Chantel or something, and he turned that into Wanda. And then he used to do the Wanda thing in his comedy skit, and it just worked for Jamie. And then he ended up getting on in Living Color and doing sketch comedy, and that was better for him than doing stand up. Some people are better at sketch comedy. Like Dave Chappelle, he's much better at sketch comedy than stand up. He's not a outstanding stand up guy. He has his moments. He's a great conversationalist and storyteller. So that's why when I first heard Dave Chappelle, I knew he would be great at sketch comedy. I said, this guy here will be great. His storytelling is amazing. And that's what people was like, you remind me of Dave Chappelle more than anybody, because you could tell a story, man, and I just visually see all of it. I'm like, yeah, that's funny, but I'm like, yeah, but he's telling a joke. I'm like, he's telling a joke. I'm telling something that happened in real life, just happened to be funny. There's a difference. Now, where Chris went wrong, I mean, Chris Rock just couldn't blow. He was putting all these movies out. They had Nurse Betty. They had all these movies with Chris Rock. He couldn't blow up. So what did Chris do? Chris started trying to cross over into white America and start changing his jokes and curtailing himself and trying to reinvent himself. And I was like, what is this? Chris Rock, 2 days in New York. And I said, what the heck is going on with Chris Rock? And I said, what is happening here? What is happening with Chris Rock? Now, a movie with Chris Rock called 2 Days in New York, you would think this is it. You know, this is Rock. 2 days in New York. Now, before that, he started going to France and watching all these white people movies and trying to turn them into black people. He did Death at a Funeral with Martin Lawrence, trying to get the black people back, and then his movies was bombing. They wasn't making any money. Then he did the other movie, I Think I Love My Wife. He was all excited about this. And he just got mad at black people and said, black people ain't coming to see my movie. I done did every damn movie. What, I'm supposed to be Pookie? I ain't gonna play no Pookie. I didn't play Pookie. I was 1988. He wasn't doing Pookie no more. So he started to switch up. and said, you know what? Screw y'all. I want to make movies with white women. I like white women. 2 days in New York with Chris Rock. It was, what the hell going on with Chris Rock? This movie wasn't for brothers. No brother even knew this movie existed. They was, Julie Delpy made this movie and Chris Rock got hired as the actor. And it was like, what? Chris Rock produced it. I'm gonna produce your movie, Julie. It was, what the hell is this? He hit the switch up. He was no longer doing any more pro-black jokes. He blamed black people for his success. Black people came to see your movies. It was white people that didn't. They stopped coming to see you do the movies because you was just doing all black jokes. It ain't like that. They want something they can relate to. And they'd like to see you stand up, but they wasn't coming to see your movie. And when Cat Williams coming out, he was taking all the money in the comedy space. And HBO paid a ton of money for you to come back, for you to do I Ain't Never Scared. Because everybody was scared to do a stand-up after Cat Williams was coming out, burning everything up. This was the Pimp Chronicles, and this was that era. So people were scared to do their stand-ups, and that's when Chris Rock was like, I ain't never scared. And he came out and did a great stand-up. It was solid. Very much so. Yeah, and he produced Everybody Hates Chris, and that was a great show. But they still supposed to be doing a sequel now, bringing that back. But again, things have changed. And Chris Rock went through a massive divorce because he had an adult fan addiction. He was cheating on his wife considerably. I'm not telling on the man. The man told on himself. He had a sickness. He slept with the girl, the co-star of the movie, so that she can get the part, Kerry Washington, like she did in Scandal. And he got that role because Adam Sandler, his friend, who he went and teamed up with in 2009, he went and called and reached out to Adam Sandler. He's going through a divorce with his wife. They were going through problems. And he called up his good old buddy, Adam Sandler, who he really hadn't talked to in like 20-some years. And they got real friends, and Adam Sandler was like, I'm doing this movie called Grown Ups. Yeah, it's all the old friends are getting back together. I got Kevin James, I got everyone in it. So we need a black guy. So I want you to be the black guy in there. We always gotta have room for one black guy. So you wanna be my black guy? And there it is. Adam Sandler got Chris Rock to be his black guy. And oh, buddy, he been riding with him ever since. Yeah, they did the Longest Yard. That was in like 2005. He came on as an actor on that one, and he saw how while they were filming this movie, they were writing for the next movie. And he was like, oh no, this is another movie we're doing. It's not this movie. He was like, what? He's like, I've never seen that. He's like, that's the way I want to get to. I want to be able to write my movie, and while we're making a movie, we're writing for the next movie. He's like, damn, you got that kind of power? Adam Sandler could write his own check back then. Since the success of Waterboy, he could do whatever he wanted. He couldn't do anything wrong. So it was like Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler, Adam Sandler. So they was remaking the old Burt Reynolds classic, The Longest Yard, and Chris Rock was on there, and it was a hit for them. So he the one got him to do the 2 days in New York, change his whole script. Then next thing you know, his stand-ups change. He started doing stand-up comedy acts overseas. And a black woman walked in and saw it, and she walked out because he was curtailing his jokes to shit on black people, to all the white Europeans over there. And she walked out. She was, Chris Rock didn't change. Rock is completely a different individual now. I'm like, your wife name was Malika Compton. You can't get no blacker than that. Your wife name is Malika Compton. You was not gonna get no blacker than that. And since then, this boy has been, every time you turn around, he with a white chick. Every time. He is not going back black. And Adam Sandler got him for life. Mm-hmm. Oh, Chris Rock wore a dress in doggone his first movie, CB4, which was stolen from Fear of a Black Hat. The black producer made that. They was doing the movie first, so they both of their movies come out. Of course, CD4 with Chris Rock come out first, but Fear of the Black Hat was the funnier movie. But that's Hollywood. They had the 5 Heartbeats come out with Robert Townsend producing his own movie. Then Hollywood said, okay, let's put out the Temptations. So there's so much y'all don't know that it really like irks people when they see real life issues turn into major issues. Okay, let me tell you this right now, because we're revealing a lot of secrets here. Okay, let's expose some other Hollywood secrets. Charlie Sheen, right? Charlie Sheen has done so many different drugs. They know it. He's got a Netflix deal paying him millions and millions of dollars to put out a documentary of his story. This man goes and do an interview, talk about how he smoked crack cocaine, he's HIV positive, all of these things, right? And they're still talking about putting him in films. All of these women he was sleeping with, these sex workers and everything that he possibly infected with the virus, and yet he acts like he's nothing. It's Charlie Sheen. Nobody in Hollywood is not trying to be around this man. He became more popular by talking about he got tiger blood. Yeah, Jonathan Majors. Look how they did Jonathan Majors. They might as well call him Jonathan Minors. They treated him like they treat everybody else. No. It's become a growing trend that actors and the pay wages and things of that era. Charlie was making over $1 million per episode. Well, when people start to see what's actually happening or what's in front of them, then they can make their own observations about what's happening here. Mm. These, no, these are atrocities that take place. Oh, Chris Rock and I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. That was in '88. He used that bit. Let me get one rib. I sure am hungry. Yeah, I remember that. Nah. See? It's just like what they do now. They try to make you feel like there's only room for one. Now, after the success of the tour, that was after the success of the tour that just happened to be Kings of Comedy, it made a lot of money. Bernie was just got his TV show based off of that because once it came out on video and they boxed it up and they took like one of the best performances he did on the tour and made it on the tape, it became the biggest thing in home video. Everybody had the Kings of Comedy. And it made Bernie a household name, even though he was slaying it on Def Comedy Jam all those years. So now he's become a household name, and everybody's around there talking about how good this person is, how bad that person is. No. You think there's a coincidence as to why they're doing things in a certain way? They're taking examples of leadership and they're exploiting people. Yes. People are being exploited for their weakness, not their greatness. Chris Tucker did that because he got more into his Christian faith and his Christian belief. And as he got more into his Christian faith and his Christian belief, it started to change the dynamics of what other people believe and what was real and what was fake. And he just said, no, let's change the character of Smokey. Let's have Smokey come out of rehab. That's what it was supposed to be. Ice Cube was like, cool, let's do it. But at that time, Rock was making $20 million a film. After the first Rush Hour, he was on his way. Mm-hmm. No, that's a lie. No, I saw what you were saying. That's not accurate. That's not accurate. Mm-mm. Like Charlie Sheen got money. All these people they seem to find money. Denise Nichols, when did she acted? When the last time she acted in anything? Really? But yet she lives in a multi-million dollar house. What does she? How she do that? How could she afford to do that? Black actors have to go and do work. Steve Harvey tried to cut Bernie Mac out of the role by taking less money. He tried to do all of these different things so that he could get into Ocean's 11. He wanted to be in that upper echelon. They chose Bernie Mac and not him because Steve was his comedy was too old and not what they was looking for. Mm-hmm. Oh no, 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 no. John Travolta would have never been John Travolta again. He was doing Look Who's Talking. He was like a joke in Hollywood. Corey is Chicago all the way to the end. Everything about him, I didn't even know he was from the Taylors like us. He grew up over there. I grew up in the Robert Taylor homes. I was there until like fourth grade. I went to Hardigan, so I know he knows what I'm talking about. When you when you set out to do things in the business, you have to understand that yeah, there's different levels to this business that requires you to sacrifice your faith. They want to know where your faith is. That's why they test you. In Hollywood, they want to know where your allegiance lies. Is your allegiance going to lie to the studio or to your faith? So they want to know what faith you're in. So they want to test your faith. They're going to say, well, we're going to test your faith. We want to see where you are. Right? Yeah, they do it. They did it to Mark Wahlberg. They did it to him early when he was Marky Mark. They put him on MTV. They got him a Calvin Klein ad, made him a Calvin Klein underwear model, right? Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Put him out there, got him a role in Renaissance Man. Start putting him into movies right after his music career, saying you're gonna be a two-hit wonder if you don't start getting into movies. You got the look, kid, you got the look, we gotta put you in movies. So they put him in a movie where he was a drug addict, and they was with Leonardo DiCaprio and all these other people. And everybody in that artsy fartsy movie was supposed to be a star. Then he played this crazy man. And because he played the drug addict role, that boosted his paychecks up to six figures. He was fear. You're the big fear guy. You're the crazy ex boyfriend. So they said, are you willing to be a man who sleeps with men and women in Boogie Nights? You were in Basketball Diaries, played a drug addict that would do anything for drugs. Here, you're going to play this Dirk Diggler, this adult film star. It's going to do anything for drugs. And we're going to put this prosthetic on you to make you have this long, extra long penis. And you're going to get $1 million. This guy went from making $100,000 to being paid $1 million for the movie. Then the big hit movie that's supposed to have been a Jamie Foxx movie ends up going to Mark Wahlberg because he was in Boogie Nights. Then A Thin Red Line, he's in the war movies. Then he started doing action films. I mean, movies that just didn't make sense for him to be in. Like Three Kings. It's just like, hell is he doing in that with George Clooney and Ice Cube? He's getting paid millions now. He's getting 2 million, 3 million a film. So now all of these things start to materialize over and over again. He's going to become the new face. We're going to make the Planet of the Apes and we're going to do a trilogy. You're going to be the face of it. You're going to get $8 million a movie. So after the first Planet of the Apes, they decided not to do the trilogy. So he had to be retained under a Hollywood retainer to the studio. So they had to pay him with that type of paycheck so they could just stick him in any movie and he has to agree, which is how he ends up doing the movie Rockstar, where he was paid $6 million. Plus they had a $2 million retaining fee, so he made more than $6 million. So he has to appear in these shitty movies, even though they don't want him to. So they come out with a film called The Truth About Charlie. And they said, well, let's give you 10 million. This will close out your deal and you can start all over. So now it's time for him to re-up with a new studio, new deal. And then he goes and do the Italian Job. Gets another big check. So Mark Wahlberg is becoming a star overnight for no reason. Paid millions of dollars for no reason. Normally people play artsy movie, they don't take all the money. He did the movie Invincible about the guy, the bartender that played the football player. Now, Four Brothers, he was great in that. But he ate up the budget, basically. They had a $30 million budget to film. The movie made money, but they paid him $2 million. He was the highest paid person in the movie. He got $5 million to do the Invincible. That's crazy. That's an artsy movie. Wasn't gonna really make any money. Then he did the Scorsese movie. Then they put him in Shooter, paying him tens of millions of dollars a pop. Nobody's saying anything about it. I know, 6, 8 million. 7. He's becoming one of the biggest paid actors around because he signed a studio deal. $100 million studio deal, which putting him in the rankings to make these kind of monies, and any big time producer come up, he'll get the role. He had back end money on The Fighter, which made about 130 million out of a $10 million budget, and he got paid off the back end, which brought him like another 10 million. And they just kept overloading this man with money. And it's like, for what? It didn't even make sense. And then most of his movies weren't making money like that anymore. Besides Ted made almost $1 billion at one point, the first Ted. But his movies weren't really making money like that anymore. They were just there. Oh, I'll never forget Transformers Age of Extinction when they brought Mark Wahlberg in. Oh my God. He made $57 million because he got $40 million off the back end of that movie. And that's where the real money is made, is on the back end. See, I realized in business, this is what I realized. When you conduct business, you have to know, like whatever job you is, you got to find out a very key detail. How do my job make money? And how do I get a piece of it? How do I stand out here? Let me tell you what happened. Yes, that's where the real money is made. That's why 50 Cent was able to move around and do the things he was doing because of Mark Wahlberg. He bought Mark Wahlberg dinner, and then everything went over from there. All right. This works a little better. All right. That should work. Hold on, let me get some light. Show you a little something. Hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming. Hold on. Sano's coming. Hopefully we got that right. Okay, there we go. We'll keep it that way. Ooh, man, it's glitchy. Why is it all glitchy? Now, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh no. I can't even get up. That wasn't supposed to happen. I'm like, well, what the heck is going on? Y'all know pillow went back. I'm like, I'm flipping over my whole couch. Now, in business, wherever job you work, learn how your company makes its money. Right? Then learn how you can make yourself valuable in said situation. Right? Now, with that being said, this is what I mean by it. Once you find a niche and you start seeing where the real money is, and the real money was in the back end of the contract. The back end money is what every black actor or any actor in Hollywood would want to get to. Back end money. Because you have to have a film first that's worthy of back end money or it's going to make something. A Transformer movie would do that. Pretty much a animated film would do that, like a Shrek or something. That'll be a back end. Or this movie they got, or with, I don't know what they call it. I don't want to say Wicked, but I don't even want to say SpongeBob, but you know, one of the kids' movies. These type of things that are set up to be trilogies and go on forever, you want to get back in money. Because as those things go on and keep contributing money over years, that matriculation of money is going to be astronomical. And he got 40 million off of that. Well, bringing his salary and everything he brought to the table with it, the movie ended up doing tremendously well. Now, when I was working for the company, I realized where the bulk of our money was. So I said, wow, our tax division, audits, that's where we make the bulk of our money. This is the meat of the company. This is how we are making the money. This is where it is. All these billable hours for lawyers to help these companies with their money. That's what I need to be talking to these guys about. Because all of these guys who own these businesses have to deal with audits. So now that they're talking about an audit, here's what I need to have done. So I go over there and I get the paperwork. I start talking about our tax division. I learned everything about our tax division. So when I start talking, I start saying, hey, did you guys go through an audit recently? And I said, okay, well, good, because we have a tax division that works here with us, and we have one of the top tax divisions in the country, which we did. So I said, well, I have them bring information on that. That might be beneficial to you sometime down the road when you might need it again. Hopefully you don't, but just in case. Never hurts. Synergy. Next thing you know, I'm getting a tax evaluation deal done. And when I had see that ITA on my check, you see, that's gonna keep a trickling money because those are billable hours. So all the money I'm gonna get is gonna come from that tax evaluation. That is a whole big different sale than just a regular old business sale. See, now that I'm pushing the tax division, now that's where the bulk of the money is. Now I'm getting bigger checks than the person that's sitting next to me, and they can have more sales. But because I have the sale, my one sale is attributed to more than four of theirs combined on regular sales because of that tax evaluation. I know where the real money is. So that's what the back end is for. Those people who can get to that, the holy grail, back end money. Old wrinkly white folk money. Now, if you can understand that, The Fast and Delusional, Hollywood's Greatest Secrets. Oh, Vin Diesel is gay. Vin Diesel's been gay for a long time. He's bisexual. Let me put it that way. We figured that out a long ago. Yeah. Don't nobody care though, but it's just for those who did, I'm just letting you know. Hollywood Darkest Secrets. He got caught out there in probably, I want to say, Triple X during that time. Yes. Vin was, at this time, when Triple X was out, Vin Diesel was going through a whole different progression. He was trying to be the biggest star in Hollywood. At the same time, Vin used to hang out in gay clubs. He worked as a bouncer for a lot of gay clubs in New York when he was breakdancing and stuff like that. And, he had a bunch of gay friends back in those days. And he was a bouncer, but he also was a dancer for these guys. He would do dancing and stuff in the gay clubs. He wasn't just a bouncer. So, yes. Doesn't hurt his movies. It's just that you start to see the progression of how he went the same route as they try to do everybody. They put them in the same role and they try to bring them up the same way. The Rock was, it started, Hulk Hogan was the nanny, Mr. Nanny, right? Remember, Hulk Hogan wanted to show his softer side. He was Mr. Nanny. Then Vin Diesel was the pacifier. Then The Rock, he was the Tooth Fairy. You see? You see how they go when they're building up their action stars? They start putting them in like action comedies to make them softer to the public, to get them over into the family area of the film business. Hollywood's been running the same script forever. Absolutely not. I don't care if somebody is blue, green, red, orange, or whatever. If they could do the job, they could do the job. Hire the best person for the job. I don't want you to hire the best actor for the job. I want you to hire the best person for the job. You see, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. Not anything else on the table. Now, the way we're looking at it is there is a strong need for people to try to win themselves over into family friends. Junior was the sequel. Twins was the original. And I don't even know how that was a family fun movie like Kindergarten Cop. You know, Arnold would do a couple of comedies like that, and then he'll have the action movie to come along with it. So that was his stick. He'll have an action movie, then he'll have a comedy, a lighthearted comedy movie or film to go down these tropes. I never seen it as blatant as how it was being laid out. The game is rigged. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Where's LeBron? Probably at home. I talked to Roe after the Knicks game, and as you can see, he's nowhere around. I talked to him. He's on my Patreon. I didn't know you was live. Come, come on, Ro. Stop the bull. Dude, if you on my Patreon, you got a notification. What you talking about? Well, Marlon Wayans know one thing. He wasn't going to continuously go down that road because it's already closed. That road has already been deserted. Reality comes for all of those who are prepared for it. When you start looking at a person who is prepared to go above and beyond, what is everybody else prepared to do then? No, you have to understand that when you look at who are the most elite athletes and talented people in the game, the actors, you want people to say, all right, look, this is what needs to happen here. This is what needs to go down. This is what doesn't need to go down. You have to know, like who you can trust in said situations and who you can't trust. This this is the reality of what we're, dealing with. I never thought in a million years I would ever have to explain um, like the decision making of what goes down in the inner workings of a company or a corporation. We were in the producer's house and didn't even know it. We were at a producer's house, because when you go in with other people, they're taking you places and they're having a party, representing for the company or whatever they got going on that day, and you're just going along for the show, for the ride. You don't know what all they're talking about. You don't have any clue about what's actually happening out there. So all you have is the faith of, well, this seems to be the reality here. This seems to be what's working. This seems to be what they want. This seems to be what this side want. Let's go with that. And ultimately, you wish all of these things work out for you. And in reality, it's just more struggles. So the people out there just want to have some sort of, what you would say, closure. You think it's a coincidence that all the black actors that's in Hollywood now seem to be coming from the UK? What's wrong with American actors? Samuel L. Jackson. Sam. Well, Sam got his big break because Sam knew to play the character role. Like he didn't treat Hollywood like there was no starring roles for people like Samuel L. Jackson. Now, the people who got these roles he's acted with, he's acted with a lot of these roles. Like he's acted with them in stage, Hollywood, everything. So he did a lot. His catalog has been great since the 1990s. You know, he's done a right. He's played these characters that you think it's not acting. You think this is how Samuel L. Jackson act 24 hours a day. You think he's Jules. You think he's, this type of character all the way through and through, but he's actually not. He's acting. Jules is a character he was playing. But he was so good at it, it put people in that perspective. But he was a character actor and he was a scene stealer. That movie was meant for John Travolta, who they got for cheap because people didn't see the greatness in John Travolta anymore. They thought he was old and washed up and just expendable. Pulp Fiction was supposed to bring him back to life. Well, it ended up doing it, and he started to star in all the big roles. And Samuel L. Jackson, who stole the show, was just highlighted for his. He got nominated for an Oscar, but he didn't get it, even though he should have gotten it. He got recognized. So because he was recognized, it put him on the map to being one of the highest paid actors in the game. And Coming to America, he was paid less than what, $5,000 for the cameo performance he did. He got like 5,000 for it. And Spike Lee put him in Do the Right Thing. Right after that is that crazy DJ, and said, "I can give you like 10,000 to do the role." Then he was Stacks, my man Stacks. See, Sam is somebody you didn't notice in movies until you actually got a chance to see him, like later on. Spike gave him what, $50,000 to play, and what, Jungle Fever? I think it was Jungle Fever. Then he was in Patriot Games, and he nailed that audition. Then people forget he was in Jurassic Park all before Pulp Fiction. He was getting paid like 60, 70K. He was in True Romance, one of my favorite movies. They gave him like 50K for that. Then came Pulp Fiction, which had a very cheap budget. He ended up getting, think about 100, 200K, which put him in a co-starring role in Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, which gave him a big budget movie for the first time, which gave him $4 to $5 million to do that movie. They gave him like $4 to $5 million. Then A View to a Kill came in 1996. This gave him another $2 million. So now he was in a higher percentage where he can renegotiate his contract, which get him to be a co-star in movies, not the lead. So he was getting $3 million paychecks. Then Tarantino called him up again for Jackie Brown and said, I'm gonna pay you $1 million to do this role, man, as a favor to me. And he did it for $1 million. Then in Spear, he was pretty much the lead in Negotiator, which was his first real big movie break for Sam. Sam got like $4 to $5 million. It's his big breakout. And because he had a friend that said, look, we want Samuel L. Jackson in this movie. And he was like, I can't be in this movie because I'm filming Star Wars. So in Deep Blue Sea, they paid him $3 million just for a cameo. A movie that had LL Cool J in it. Then he wanted to play Mace Windu in the first Star Wars back. It did like $1 billion. It was huge. It's going to make him a whole international star. So this is why he couldn't really be in Deep Blue Sea. Like, look, I can't be in Deep Blue Sea. I'm doing Star Wars. So it's Mace Windu. And they only paid him $1 million for it, but he didn't have a big role in it in the first film. But that's what made him. He came from theater. He came from a supporting staff, cast. And then they said, John Singleton's like, I got to have Samuel L. Jackson. I got to work with him. I'm going to pay him $5 million to play Shaft and make him the star. So then in Unbreakable with Bruce Willis, he teamed back up with Bruce Willis in Unbreakable because y'all don't know, Die Hard was part 3. That was the script for Lethal Weapon 3. And it was supposed to be for Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. But they ended up doing another movie instead. I mean, they got a whole nother script that ended up being outstanding. So that was the original script. Both scripts are good, but you can see how Die Hard 3 was originally Lethal Weapon 3. Oh yeah, Formula 51, where he played a guy wearing a kilt. The casting couch, jeez. No. The thing is you don't need the casting couch anymore. But yes, the casting couch was the casting bed. It was the casting everything. This is how Jennifer Lawrence has her movie deals. Ashley Judd has her movie deals. Lupita got a movie deal. All of these people had to pay dues to the Piper. But they got Harvey out of there, and bye-bye black movies. And if they get Tyler Perry, bye-bye black movies. Blacks gonna have less opportunities in film. But this has been 3.5 hours. So I'm gonna get ready to get out of here, man. I appreciate y'all, man. We'll chat again. Remember, on the Patreon, I'll go deeper into this so y'all can figure out more, things that I was dancing around that I can't talk about because we're on YouTube. Plus, this phone got a charge. So I'm